Order December 6th, school board special meeting and executive closed meeting. Ms. Goodell, can you please call roll?
Yes. Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Gould?
Here.
Ms. Henderson?
Here.
Ms. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Sherwood?
Here.
Ms. Silverman?
Here.
Thank you. And Ms. Tice?
Here.
Thank you.
Do we need any motion for her to be, to Ms. Silverman to be? That's okay. Can I please have a motion for allowance for a school board member to attend virtually? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tice. And do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Murphy. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Welcome, Ms. Silverman. All right. Let's. Now we're going to look at 1.03, adoption of the agenda. Can I please have a motion? I've got pledge as 1.04. Yeah, mine's, okay, we can do that first. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You will want to amend the agenda.
I gotta
to
refresh.
add-
Okay, and that's with a motion? Okay,
Just to amend the agenda. Because
Okay.
I didn't have it in the agenda.
all right, can I please have a motion to amend the agenda for the reason? Yes, Ms. Henderson?
I move to amend the agenda to allow for a motion to allow Ms. Silverman to attend remotely pursuant to policy BDD.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Sherwood. All in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed? All right. Now we're going to go to adoption of the,
Now I would suggest you actually make the motion for her to attend electronically and specify why, whether it's work-related travel or something
okay,
else.
can someone please make a motion?
Why is it?
Work travel, yes. Ms. Murphy?
I move to allow Lori Silverman to attend remotely due to work travel.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Now you're allowed to attend, Ms. Silverman. So.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to adoption of the agenda. Let's see, do I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda? Thank you, Ms. Tice.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
And do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Murphy. All in favor say yes. Any opposed? All right. All right, so now we are ready to start. We appreciate everybody's understanding. We're actually at an exciting impact breakfast for the Falls Church Education Foundation, so we do apologize for being a few minutes late. And our superintendent, Dr. Noonan, was receiving a surprise scholarship in his honor, which as we were walking out, so he should be understandably a few minutes late. But we do want to welcome folks today. Let's see here. We've got the team from HYA. HYA is the firm that we have selected to help us with this important search for a new superintendent for the Falls Church City Public School System. HYA was one of many firms that proposed, and they were by far our choice. We're really looking forward to working with them and their expertise. And we know from any previous superintendent search process, this is a long process for the school board, for the school staff, for the community, for students, for teachers to go through. And so we're really appreciative of HYA's experience and partnership to help us with this over the next several months. So I think with that, we'd like to go ahead and Dr. Adams, have you introduce your team, and we can go around and do introductions, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. Does that work for you?
It works, absolutely. Thank you. Well, first of all, we're excited to be working with you. We've met some of you during the presentation. Dr. Johnson and I had that opportunity, and I'm joined this morning by Dr. Aresta Johnson and Stacy Adams, both senior associates with us. I'm the vice president with HYA. And also have, as both Dr. Johnson and I have superintendent experience between us, probably too many years to talk about directly. But we're excited to be working with you, and it was a pleasure meeting those members of the school board that were part of the interview process. We're going to be joined, and we will be the face working with you, the three of us, and much of the work between the board and us, Dr. Johnson and I will be involved in. Stacy will be doing a lot of the work and has already been assisted immensely by Kristen Michael, and we certainly appreciate her work in getting us here this morning. As we move forward, we'll also be including Dr. Ron Taylor to work with us to assist with focus groups and some of the back of the house information. Ron is an associate with HYA and also a former superintendent. And Dr. Charles Maranzano will also be assisting us mainly on Virginia Code and Virginia Information. He's a former Virginia School Division superintendent. So that's our team, and we're excited. We will be the team working with you that are here today.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. We'd like to go around and introduce ourselves as well. I think you've seen a number of us over email and sometimes in the review panel, but we'll go ahead and start with our esteemed legal counsel.
Good morning. I'm Trish Minson. I'm the attorney for Falls Church City Public Schools, and I apologize. I am going to be leaving in about 10 minutes for a continuing legal education, but really looking forward to helping support, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's very nice to see you in person. I'm Kristen Michael, the Chief Operating Officer. Look forward to working with you.
Good morning, I'm Marty Goodell, and I'm the school board clerk and administrative assistant for Dr. Noonan.
Good morning. I'm John Brett. I'm Communications Director for the Falls Church City Public Schools.
Jared Anderson, school board member.
Bethany Henderson, school board member.
Good morning, Ann Sherwood, school board member.
Hi, I'm Amy Murphy. I'm a school board member.
Kathleen Tice, vice chair.
And it was, as we mentioned, Dr. Noonan's going to be joining us as soon as he's back from the Education Foundation breakfast, which we all just attended. So he'll be joining us as well, which will be great for us to all work together on trying to craft the many decisions that are going to go into this important search. And for the public, we do have all of the agenda notes public. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be going through a number of the different decision points and the overview that Dr. Adams and Dr. Johnson and team are going to be walking us through. We'll be making as many decisions as possible. As you all have seen or will see, there's a significant amount of steps that we're going to be needed, and timing is critical. So we were just mentioning here, we just finished introductions, but we're now honoring the IB for All awardee, Dr. Noonan. Dr. Noonan, would you like to introduce yourself to the HYA team, please?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Peter Noonan. I'm the superintendent of school here in the city of Falls Church. Nice to meet all of you, and my apologies to the board for saying ominously standing in the back of the room at our last meeting. So anyway, nice to see all of you.
No, we were all moving to this meeting, but you obviously have a good excuse for for being late. We appreciate, and a great honor as well, Dr. Noonan. So yes. All right, so Dr. Adams, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, and we'll let you facilitate and lead the agenda.
Great, thank you. We're going to begin, Dr. Johnson's going to begin by giving an overview of the 4 steps in the search process. Because we didn't meet with the full board, it was a committee of the board, and there's public involved today, we felt it would be important just to give a quick overview of the 4 stages of the process. So with that, Aresta, if you take it, please.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. When we met with you all previously to submit and discuss our proposal, the search process has 4 distinct stages. The first stage is engagement. The second stage is recruitment. The third stage is selection. And the fourth and final stage would be the transition phase. Now, with the engagement phase, I'll go back to stage 1. With the engagement phase, this is starting that work today. The engagement phase will ultimately lead to us developing a leadership profile and desired characteristics document that will be the guiding force, if you will, to help select your next superintendent. So with engagement, we're going to meet with individual board members. We're going to meet with community stakeholders, students, all of those individuals that you identify hopefully during today's meeting. They will be a part of that engagement process so that we can develop a well-tuned and fine document entitled Leadership Profile and Desired Characteristics. From there, we'll go to the recruitment phase. Now, the recruitment phase, once we develop the leadership profile and the desired characteristics, we will reach out across our expansive network. We have over 100 associates across the U.S. So we will recruit based upon those desired characteristics that you're looking for. The third phase would be selection phase. Ultimately, we will present a slate to you of candidates, possibly 8 to 12, so that we can work with you on developing the selection process. And during that selection process, we'll work with you on interviewing skills, techniques. We'll provide you with even a question bank to help vet your final candidates. And ultimately, the last phase would be the transition phase. And that's when we'll work with you, with your new superintendent, to help use the leadership profile and desired characteristics documents to help transition your new leader into place. And so those are the 4 steps of our signature search process: engagement, recruitment, selection, and transition.
Thank you. Any questions on the process from the board?
None. Thank you.
Okay, well, let me then just move into the next part of that process, and that's confidentiality and also transparency. And the two go hand in hand. We think it's extremely important to the community, to the stakeholders in your community, to understand and know the process, to be kept informed at each stage of the process. We do, however, believe that it's extremely important to the extent possible and to the extent allowed under public law to keep the candidates confidential as long as possible in the process. So there's really 4 options that we look at when we look at confidentiality in terms of the applicant pool. The first is that as you begin to identify semifinalists, you make those names public. We find that when that happens, we get fewer applicants. For example, in 3 states that we work in, where the applicants, as they apply, become public information, Florida, Minnesota, and Ohio, we find that we'll get less than half the number of candidates that we will in other states and other places. So we don't recommend that process. The second piece is when you get down to your finalist, and again at that level, and there are a couple of iterations of this, where you can do community forums and you can have meet and greet the candidates, and we've done some of that. And that process, again, will have some candidates not apply that do not want to expose themselves. The third process is to use a smaller group, a committee, and to have a committee participate in the process when you get down to finalists. And then the last process, or the last and most confidential, is to keep the names of applicants confidential until you've completed the conditional selection and completed a third-party background investigation that we do. And we'll talk about that investigation a little later. We've used all 4 processes depending on what the board, the community want. We find, however, in terms of applicant pool, we'll get a greater applicant pool the greater the confidentiality with candidates. In New England, Massachusetts in particular, they use search committees. The difficulty sometimes with a search committee, if you don't identify the parameters out front, when does the committee start their responsibility and when does the board take over its statutory responsibility? And then sometimes when you utilize committees, if their primary selection is not who the board selects. There can be some discord, and that can be a disadvantage to the new executive leader when that person starts. On the other hand, if you set the parameters very clearly and the committee is not making a recommendation, but rather identifying what they believe are strengths of the leader, challenges, and whether the person is the right fit, that's another way of dealing with it. Again, that's in setting the parameters. So we wanted to share that with you out front. Decisions do not need to be made today, but we'd like to get a sense as to where you, the board, want to go with regard to confidentiality. I think it goes without saying on the transparency piece, we encourage, and I'm sure that the process is going to be fully out there. And in that engagement phase, we want to get as much stakeholder involvement as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. We'd like to take a couple moments now to ask questions about each of those options and try to get a sense of the four options. And by Dr. Noonan, what was the process that we used 8 years ago for out of those four options?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Chair Gould. The process that I went through 4 years ago was a confidential process with a hiring committee or a community panel. And so all of the candidates were confidential until the announcement was made that I was the conditional selection.
And those committee members had to sign some kind of
I believe they
confidential.
signed a non-disclosure,
Okay.
an NDA.
An NDA.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great to know.
Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
That's correct.
And then from your perspective about the confidentiality, that aligns in terms of more applicants you imagine would apply if this was a confidential process versus an open process, or?
Yeah, I'd just give you my thoughts on it, just having gone through a couple of searches previously. Because you want to, my sense of it is because you want to get the very best candidates that are out there, you don't want to limit anybody from applying. And sitting superintendents, once their board finds out that, or once the community finds out, not their board, because hopefully they're communicating with their board that they've applied, but once their community finds out that they're looking for another position, that can certainly disadvantage them in their home district. And I think that's the value of potentially keeping it confidential. So just as an example, if I were applying, to be the superintendent in Fairfax County and it got out in the community that I was looking to leave, it would sort of put me in a position where I'd have to be explaining a lot. I'm all in on Falls Church. It's just I'm excited about this other job too, and I think that that's a difficult position to put a superintendent in. So from where I sit, I think I would personally prefer a confidential search so that I wouldn't feel like I was alienating my current community in some way.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Noonan. Questions for Dr. Noonan or HYA team on either of those options?
By the way, I have no interest in Fairfax County.
Fair enough. Yes, Ms.
I
Henderson.
don't know that I have a question about the options, and thank you, Dr. Noonan, because you answered the question that I did have, which was really understanding why. I guess my question is more general for the search firm, because Dr. Noonan's explanation makes perfect sense if we're expecting a lot of candidates to be sitting superintendents who haven't already told their district they're leaving. And so I'm wondering what the mix of a typical candidate pool looks like. Is it people who have, I don't know anything about the kind of superintendent role. So is it people who are sitting and haven't told folks they're leaving until they find something? Is it people who have been in seat for a number of years and it's clear that they're going to be moving on? Is it people who've never been superintendents? Can you just give us some sense of what a typical candidate pool mix is?
Well, it really depends on the district and the opportunity. Whether, for instance, an up-and-coming educational leader who has not sat in the superintendent's seat would apply. I think with a district like yours, you'll be looking more for someone who has experience having sat in the seat. So there'll be a combination. I could probably define this a little better by looking at what the typical pool would look like and where the typical pool comes from. Roughly 55% of the applicants will likely be applicants that we reach out to that don't know they should be looking at the Falls City Church School District. We'll reach out to them once you've defined the desired characteristics, and we'll do that based on the stakeholder input. So that'll be about 55%. About 45% will come from the advertising and marketing of the district. Roughly, we have found in the last 5 years, and some of this is impacted by COVID and how some of the procedures have changed since COVID, and since people started doing a lot of things online and so forth. But we'll find that roughly 75% then of the candidates selected by school boards are candidates that we've actually reached out to and recruited for the position. We would expect, and our applicant pool has ranged, again, depending on the state. If we stay away from the 3 states that I mentioned earlier, we've been drawing between 40 and 60 applicants. Of that pool, roughly 2/3 would be seated superintendents, and the remaining group would be in other central office positions. So that's what the pool looks like. Does that address your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay. So it sounds like out of the 4 options, obviously we followed, it sounds like option number 3, using a confidential process but a smaller community group to inform. Does anybody have any preferences for a different option or want to advocate or ask questions about, or are we leaning toward that option 3 that Dr. Noonan laid out? Ms. Sherwood?
I just wanted to ask some questions, a little bit more detail about that group. Do you have recommendations for what typically is the size of that group, and how do you go about, or how does the board go about selecting that group? I guess it's a process question.
If I could respond to that, essentially, the problem when boards choose to use a committee to advise is who do you select, how do you select, and if someone is not selected or part of the community feels, well, why didn't we have representation on that group? So it's very important out front that you decide the types of stakeholders that you want involved. When we did a Connecticut school district where they used an internal group, was an internal group of stakeholders. Problem with an internal group is then you have staff internally knowing who's applied, who's being considered for the position. They also then used an outside group, and they had representation from their foundation, representation from, in this case, their local government, and so forth. That group generally gets determined by what kind of stakeholders do you want involved. As I said, the downside is if you leave someone out, or why was this person selected to represent our perspective and not another person? The other important thing is to set parameters. Exactly when does that work start and stop? And it needs to be clearly understood that it's advisory. You never want a specific recommendation. It's better to, and we do have a document we can use where, again, as I mentioned, they would identify strengths based on the desired characteristics. They identify challenges based on those characteristics, and whether or not they believe the person would be the right fit. Does that address?
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Other questions, comments? Okay. So I think it seems like we would be leaning toward that option 3 from a planning standpoint, Dr. Adams, if you want to start moving forward with that process, that'd be great. So.
All right, and as we move forward, Tate, we would work through you in terms of the board, talk about the parameters before it's ever, it would ever go public formally. Those parameters need to be set, and everyone needs to agree, and they need to be very clear.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. I think we would all, we would appreciate that. We can work through that and be ready for that. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the next item on our agenda, congratulations, board. You've all scheduled a Zoom meeting with me because the next, and Dr. Johnson will be doing some of those interviews as well. So we'll begin the next phase of the process as we begin stakeholder input, actually, by meeting with each of you next week. So thank you for signing up. All of you are now signed up, and we're looking forward to those individual conversations next week as we begin to build that stakeholder input. I think it's important to note the same questions we'll be asking you, we'll be asking each of the stakeholder groups and each of the focus groups, and we'll be using those questions with all of the interviews we conduct with stakeholder constituents from Falls City, Falls Church City. Stacy, the next part of, I think, the process is the focus groups, and you've been working with Kristen on that, and I know there's been some input from Tate. Do you want to take that over, please?
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. If you'll turn to page 2 of the agenda, there has been some preliminary work to help guide our conversation here with regard to potential focus groups to reach out to as part of the engagement phase of the process. And as Bill's identified, the first part of it starts with meeting individually with you with regard to those first 7 meetings. Second on the list is for your consideration, and all of these are for your consideration, is to have a conversation with your current superintendent, Dr. Noonan, to get his input with regard to his thoughts on the current state of the district and potential upcoming challenges, as well as the desired characteristics he believes are needed for the successor superintendent, which will be the 3 main questions we ask in each one of these stakeholder groups. There's 2 additional questions we ask as well, and they also include if there's anyone that we potentially should reach out to that you may know of. But with that being said, the 3rd group to consider is your senior leadership team, the 4th, the division directors, and then there are 2 meetings being suggested for principals, assistant principals, and the school leadership team members, as you can see identified on the agenda. And then 2 open meetings for all non-certificated staff in the collective bargaining group. And then 1 open meeting and all call for certificated staff or certified staff. Then we highly, highly recommend having a meeting with students, and those can be identified through your student leaders potentially across the board. So we definitely want students represented across your school division, leaders in the different school activities, obviously athletics, your performing arts, student council, all of your club leaders, and we can work specifically, obviously, with Kristen with regard to those. 1 meeting for school affiliated organization leaders, 1 for your business leaders in the community, as identified by you, 1 for your faith-based leadership, 1 for your city council members, 1 for your government leaders, which would include your city manager, your chief of police, your fire chief, librarian, your park and rec director, etc. And then 1 for your community affiliated organizations. And then 3, we're recommending for community forums, which is an all call that all stakeholders can come out to. So if any member of any one of these groups cannot make their particular focus group, they can join the community forum. Typically, we recommend 1 on site and 2 virtual at different dates and different times to make it convenient for all of the stakeholders. All of the other sessions, we highly recommend virtual sessions.
And
so with that being...
Sorry, Stacy, there is a mistake. We should have 2 for certified staff based on their school dismissal times, and then 1 for the non-certified staff. So those numbers are flipped. My fault.
Sure.
Right, that way, based on dismissal, if we do it after school, right? We're not asking the secondary staff to wait a long time for elementary to get out, or we're not scheduling it when it negatively impacts elementary dismissal either.
That makes perfect sense. Sorry, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense, but should we do 2 for the non-certified as well, for the same reason?
So non-certified staff are a little bit more of a challenge in terms of when we look at doing that timing, right? And we generally try to pick a time when the daycare staff doesn't have any students and when the buses aren't running, right? And then when we can get all of our custodial staff. So I think if we do it virtually and if we set up locations at each school, so no one has to use their own technology and they could come to that specific place. My hope is that we could find a time as we start trying to work it out with all of their supervisors. If we couldn't find a time that worked for everyone, then we would come back to the board and try to find a different time. But we would definitely be working around the times that daycare has students or transportation is on the road.
What about paraprofessionals or teachers who aren't certified?
So our paraprofessionals, office staff, central office staff, we would include in those non-certified groups. So again, they could come to that location in the school, and we would also be making sure we're not negatively impacting when they have students as well. And when we look at our certified group, it includes everyone who has a license. So that would be all of our teachers, librarians, guidance counselors. It would also include psychologists, social workers, people like that. So those 2 groups combined with principals, assistant principals, and school leadership and the division directors, we should pick up every single one of our employees in one of those groups, and they also have the ability to participate in the community groups as well.
Right. Yep, that'll totally make sense. It feels challenging to find one time for office staff, paraprofessionals, food service, bus drivers, all the people you just listed. I'm just wondering if that's realistic to find one time.
Have 2.
That's why I'm wondering if we need to have 2 just to be able to capture.
I think it would give people choice.
Yep.
Right, and it would definitely make that easier to find a time. So I think that's a great suggestion.
Okay. That would be my thoughts.
Kristen, thank you so much for all of the assistance you provided in pulling this together. She was working, if I can just jump in here, within the parameters of the 25 sessions. And so we certainly would oblige an additional meeting to help meet the needs of your stakeholders. So Kristen, we can move forward with that.
Thank you so much, Stacy.
Absolutely, Bethany.
I appreciate the great detailed level of community engagement, which is particularly important in this community. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around what happens at a virtual meeting when you might have 20 or 40 or 60 or 80 people on. And so can you give us some insight into how that actually works?
Sure, I'll get started, and I know my team members will join me in help supporting the response to this. So as I indicated previously, there are 5 questions that we typically ask in these sessions. And we ask the same sessions to you, the board, as well as all of your stakeholder groups, so that in the end, when you look at your leadership profile report, you will know that we created a level playing field for all of your stakeholders. Those 5 questions are what you consider the strengths of the school division, which you consider the challenges of the school division at this particular point. What are those desired characteristics do you believe that the successor superintendent will need to have in order to be successful at this juncture in the school division? We also ask, what are some of the aspects of the community at large that are important for the successor superintendent to know? So sometimes there's other challenges in the community that may impact the school division, and so we certainly put that out to the community. In some communities, it may be construction that have impact on traffic patterns, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, we ask for any potential referrals if there's anyone that someone would like us to consider as a potential applicant. With that being said, once we are in the sessions and all the promotion has occurred on the front end to get the word out with regard to the sessions, once we are in the session, number 1 is that we facilitate and try to create an atmosphere of openness so that each participant can feel freely to speak. So with that being said, number 1, first and foremost, is we ask that you, the board, do not participate, in particular, in the community session, right? And that we hold each one of the focus groups for the stakeholder groups listed there, each have their own link and their own passcode to enter into the room, and so that no one else is lurking, listening, or hearing in what's happening. Number two is that we ask and we limit any chat and comments to occur directly with the host or host in the session. So we don't allow for chats to happen on the outside or within each other. Now, with that being said, obviously people can text anytime they want, but we try to keep the conversation centered on what we're saying verbally in the group. We've had great success managing those. We've had positive remarks, the high level of integrity once we set the tone up front and put those, to use the word again, parameters on what's expected in the session. I think where you may be going is, are some people more vocal than others in a particular session? Absolutely. And hence, we do have the opportunity for comments to be offered, and all comments that are offered to the host in the chat session will be included as part of the notes from the session and communicated in a part of that leadership profile report. We also we offer our emails to all the participants. So if they want to have a comment, come into to us directly after the session, they certainly are able to send us comments that are also included. And the good, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, is that with regard to participation, there's also an online survey that we'll talk about next, that all of your stakeholders can participate in to have a voice into the process as well. So we try to keep it as targeted as we can to specific stakeholder groups and what they might consider their perspectives to be, as well as to be engaging for all of them to have a free flow of thoughts and ideas. Dr. Johnson, Bill, do you have any other comments?
The only thing I would add is two things. One, everything that we report out, including from the board, we report out anonymously, we report out as group. We do not name anyone that speaks. And another point, one of the reasons we don't keep the chat on between participants, we have had experience where someone will take a screenshot of a chat and then post that chat publicly. So again, we wanted this to be as open and free-flowing as possible. And we do get people that do send us emails after, simply because they might not have been comfortable participating in the forum. And then lastly, we get a far greater participation with our virtual meetings generally than we do with our face-to-face meetings. Now, there will be some face-to-face community forums, but we offer them both ways, but by far we get a much greater participation in the virtual meetings simply because of convenience.
Yeah, and I would just add to that in terms of the participation in the virtual meetings. With all of the sessions, when your leadership profile is compiled, we take attendance essentially, so you will know whether 5 or whether 50 people were participating in that session to help provide information for you as well.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Other questions, either about the process or about the draft list? Again, this is just a draft list. We do have the option to go more than this or below this if we need, or we can keep to the 25. But any thoughts or groups that we're missing? Or
So actually, the question about that, about the business leaders and faith-based leaders in this town, and I was curious who would comprise the faith-based leaders in this town, but also for the business leaders. And the other school, I don't know if the SAOs include all the school board advisory committees, because I know a lot of the committee members are interested, those committees are interested in participating. So if you, that's maybe a question for Kristen as to like where those groups fit.
So we were thinking when we looked at the community groups that we have the SAOs as one group, and those are school affiliated organization members, right? So that would be one group. When we looked at other community groups who we may want to get feedback from, we started to think about all of the committees that do stuff for city council or community groups, whether it's environmental sustainability or other people that have been true stakeholders in the schools, and kind of engaging them separately from the school-based organizations because their conversations might be slightly different. When we look at faith-based leaders, this is where I certainly would need help in terms of identifying who that is. Right, it was a way to ensure that we were making sure we were hearing all of the voices, but I absolutely don't know who those people would be. And I think for many of the people in the city, those faith-based leaders may actually be from churches and synagogues in the surrounding area as well, or mosques. So something we may want to take into consideration as well. But there, I'll definitely need help.
So make sure I understood what you said. So the school affiliated organizations leaders group would be the PTAs, the school board committees, and then the community affiliated organizations would be like the Ed Foundation and the city council groups and environmental, or I'm mixing these up now?
Yeah, so the Ed Foundation is included in our school affiliated organizations. So again, it would be PTAs, all of our different types of boosters, whether chorus, band, athletic. The Ed Foundation is in there, that entire group. The community affiliated organizations, or there are many organizations that are really kind of key to what we do, many of them tied to the city council or the general government that we would want to ensure we hear their voice. So for example, the Environmental Sustainability Council was very instrumental in terms of us building the high school and giving us some great input. They're regular contributors to the school board, so we would want to make sure that we're including all those voices as well.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking through the same piece in terms of the school board advisory committees. I tend to think that the SAO group is a large enough group and probably, needs their own meeting. And whether we do a separate meeting for the school board advisory leadership or members, or if we, more actively encourage them to engage in the community. I mean, I think that's a separate piece that maybe we need to figure out, but I wouldn't necessarily want to combine those two because I feel like that might be too many voices in one. So I would keep the SAO separate and open to what we do with the school board advisory committees. If anyone else has thoughts?
Right, and maybe as you have that consideration, BIE is one of our school board committees, right? So perhaps instead of this being business leadership, that's a place for school board committees, right? Or perhaps you want to add another whole session altogether.
Right, I know, I'm thinking about like the chamber and BIE. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of the Chamber of Commerce and BIE, if that's enough, or if that would, like, to your point, if that would make sense to combine those with the.
Yeah, you can say SAO now.
Yes, they do. Who comes to SAO? BIE comes to SAO.
Ann?
No, I'll just agree with you, Kathleen. I think it would be nice or a wise idea to separate the school board advisory committees out from some of those other groups. I think they might have a different perspective and a different voice.
Other thoughts, groups? Jared?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Kathleen and Ann are saying about making sure that I think the advisory committees definitely need a more attention than just having them communicate through to us via community forums. I think having a separate session would probably be helpful to get their voices heard.
Okay, we can make that change. Again, this is just a draft list that we were trying to put together. This is where we're making these decisions. So yeah, this is great input.
I'm just wondering, yeah, I agree, Jared. I'm looking at, I'm just trying in my brain to separate or to organize in my brain business versus faith versus community organizations and like who I'm picturing at those groups and if it makes sense to combine two of those three. I certainly want to make sure we're including the faith-based groups and reaching out to them as we can. I'm not sure if that is going to be a large enough group or if it would make sense to combine with maybe the community organizations. Community organizations, I was picturing groups like Welcoming Falls Church or Falls Church Forward or those sorts of groups, right? So that might be a natural combination with the faith-based. Okay, I'm seeing head nods. So, okay. So maybe we combine faith and community organizations and then do a separate one for school board advisory committees. Is that, yes? Does that make sense to people? Okay, cool.
And definitely for the second row, Dr. Adams is superintendent, we would greatly appreciate if Dr. Noonan has the time to be the person that would be next up for for interviewing. So that would be great. That decision we can make now as well.
Super. Thank you.
So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I like what I'm hearing. You're getting down into the nitty gritty about who and what and when. Certainly, we welcome all of that input. I think, Kristen, I just want to give you a shout out in that, you know, it's a tough challenge. We like to call this a puzzle piece and trying to figure out how all these are going to fit together within the parameter of the 25 sessions. And we'll do our best to work with you, you know, a plus or a minus of a couple of sessions. Should, however, the conversation go greater than that, then we'll have another conversation. But I think we're on a great path.
Stacy, we
So
do
with
have a
that-
question. Sorry, Stacy. Amy's got a question.
Actually, I
Sure.
guess it's I don't know if it's a question or just maybe an observation about the faith-based leadership. I'm wondering if, I think when we define our community, we typically think like within the confines of Falls Church City, but I think for faith-based leadership, given that we don't have, you know, certain places of worship represented here in the city of Falls Church, but we probably have communities that go outside of the city of Falls Church to worship, that we should broaden our definition of community to include, you know, and we would have to get input on this, on where those, you know, where people generally go. But I think it seems to me that we would probably have to go outside of Falls Church to find, you know, representation from the different groups.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I totally agree. Before we totally move from this topic, I wanted to, I had two other small questions. One, maybe for Dr. Noonan in terms of the principals and admin session. And I know there was a note in the draft on whether it made sense to do them all together or separately, like secondary as one and elementary / preschool as a second. Do you have a thought on that?
My only thought would be we've worked really hard to create a pre-K-12 system and worked hard to sort of bridge the gap between secondary and elementary.
Okay.
And I think maybe this would be a great opportunity to kind of continue bridging that gap so they can talk about leadership as a team.
Okay,
Just
that
as
makes
a-
sense. I
that'd be
mean,
my thought.
okay,
That's
that's good perspective. That makes sense. I wasn't sure if they felt like that would be too many people in the room, but I get that point. So that would bring us down one. And my second question was for city council. I'm just curious. I know it would be we'd have to have 3 meetings for it to not be noticed publicly. And I just was wondering, though, if it would still make sense to do that so that it was, it was a more candid conversation if they weren't worried about. I don't know. I just thoughts of what other people think. I could see both sides. I don't want to make it more tedious, but I also want to make sure that they are open.
I would lean toward having a public meeting if that was the case, to keep to our one city council slot, make sure we have representation. So I think if we get feedback that there might be concern about sharing, then maybe we can rethink it or maybe we can add to it. But I think right now, that would be where I would lean toward, is have them together and notice it, so.
Okay. Anyone?
Anybody else?
Other thoughts? Okay.
And quick question, Stacy, about the translation services. If some of our community events are more tailored to like a certain language, how do you all handle that?
So on that front, and in this particular case, we would lean in on the school division with regard to a translator that could potentially be supplied. In some cases, what we have done is that there's been a community person that typically it's based in a nonprofit that acts sometimes as a liaison between that particular language-based community and the school division. Sometimes they're willing to come and participate, knowing their voice is being asked for, and so that has happened in the past. Otherwise, we really lean in on the division as to who the translator is and should be, and if there's any cost incurred, that obviously is on the division.
Okay, great. I got a confidence head nod from Ms. Michael across the room, so I'm sure we can help with that as that's designated. Dr. Noonan, do you have any other kind of initial thoughts on this list or anything, any groups that we're missing from your experience?
No, this is a super comprehensive list, and I think it'd give you some great feedback.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Okay, well, I think that's, any other questions from the board or comments? Looking for, okay. All right, well, I think we're, and Lori, just to make sure, are you still available? Did you have any comments or questions?
I am all good. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it so far.
Great, thanks, Lori. Okay. All right, HYA team, back to you.
All right, as we talk about focus groups and input from various stakeholder groups, there's another opportunity, and that opportunity is through a community survey. We use a research-based survey to get really two perspectives. One is a perspective from some of the same people, and then those people that may not participate in a focus group will also have the opportunity of participating in this research-based survey. One of the things we will look at is the perceptions of the district, roughly like a SWOT analysis, or what we call a SCOT analysis of strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats to the district. And then the most important characteristics in terms of the next superintendent. We formerly use the ISLIC leadership standards and currently use the national standards by the Chief State School Officers Group. And there are 10 areas identified. They're all important in a leader, but we like to see what the priorities are in a given community. So that survey is part of the service that we offer. It's included in the contract. And really the question we have today is twofold. One, we can disaggregate to 6 groups and provide an item analysis on those 6 groups. And we've got 6 suggested, but certainly we want to make sure that those categories are ones that will be appropriate and will yield the most amount of information, so we can compare the information from the interviews, the focus groups, the town hall meetings with what we get in the survey, and you'll see all of that in the leadership profile. The 6 groups that are in the document that you have, parents or guardians of current students, your certificated staff that we've been talking about, and you've been defining who they are, your non-certificated staff, your administrators, your community members and business members, and your students. And we think it's important to get that last category, but these are the suggested overall categories. We can disaggregate to any 6 groups that you identify. So the input we're seeking, are you comfortable with those? Do you want to make changes? Do you want to modify those to make sure that they represent the groups that we're going to be able to disaggregate to?
Any thoughts? I'm just looking down the row here, across the aisle. Okay, I think we're getting thumbs up from everyone on both sides of the table. So I think that seems like the right groupings for the disaggregation. So that's great. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Dr. Johnson, do you want to move into the next several items, please?
Excuse me, Bill. I'm sorry, Aresta. I just need to assert myself here a little bit. We have one last question because it came up on the focus groups and the translation. Currently, what's included in the online survey is English and Spanish. If you want the survey translated to other languages, there's a small fee involved, but we would need to know what those other languages are and make that a part of the survey. So we can have conversation here now, or it's something that you can forward over to Kristen and take it from there. The small fee is, I think, just over $400 for additional translations if you need it.
But we don't use Google Translate. They're actually translated based on the dialect for the dialect for the language in your community.
I would just offer that thanks for doing the Spanish version. The second most spoken language in our community is Russian. So it might be, or it might be worth it to do it in Russian as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. So at least those three languages, and we can talk to Dr. Santiago if there's another language that she'd recommend. But yeah, at least those three. Well, English as well. Sorry. So.
Got it. Thank you. Kristen will follow up later. Okay, I'll move into the next phase of the signature search process. In the beginning, I mentioned the selection phase. So this is a part of the slated candidates. Our intent is to typically bring you anywhere from 8 to 12 candidates. So for each of those candidates, let's say we're working with 10 candidates, you will have a digital folder for each of those candidates. Within that digital folder, you will have the applicant's application, their resume, a letter of interest, a self-introduction, and also a summary of what references say. So you will have access to those. You'll have an opportunity to look over those. We will do a paper screen based upon those documents. We'll also work with you to dwindle that list down using the Delphi technique, and we'll work you through that process and train you on that process on how to use that for the slated candidates. One really important piece of information with this process, you may say, we're going to share all of the applicants with you, and you may say, well, Aresta, how come Bob Jones did not make the slate? I'd really like to add Bob Jones to the slate. And we say, that is your choice, that is your option. However, there's also the caveat that if Bob Jones is added to the slate, he was not a part of the original HYA slate that we presented. It was at the board's discretion to add Bob Jones to the slate. And in that case, that's where the HYA guarantee comes in. Because with our guarantee, if the superintendent leaves the position during the first year, and the majority of those board members that were a part of that vote are still in place, we will redo the search at no additional cost, except for, of course, travel and advertising and due diligence. And so just please note that if the board decides they want to add someone else to the slate, that does not come as part of the HYA guarantee. So you will have all of those digital folders for the slated candidates, and our job will be to work with you to dwindle down a group that you'd like to interview. So that would be our first group, and then the finalist group, which would be between 2 to 3 candidates. And I'll just pause to see if there are questions on the slated candidates.
Bevan?
More process questions. You mentioned application, resume, a cover letter. Is the application actually like an application form? I'm just trying to wrap my head around what is in that.
Yes, it's their full application from start to finish, name, previous employment, et cetera. It's the full, complete application. I believe it's about 3 to 4 pages.
And so having never seen one of these before, I'm curious what's different from that. What is different information on that versus the cover letter of interest and resume? What additional information?
Just the letter of interest is more of why they want to be your next superintendent. So that's their pitch. The self-introductory is really introducing themselves to you. So we asked them to create a self-introductory letter. How would you like Aresta to introduce you to the board? So this is their introduction of themselves to you. And the other piece, I mentioned what references say. We check their references and we compile it into one document so that you have a summary of what those references had to say about them. So in terms of a difference between the application is more formal, I worked here during this timeline, et cetera. A letter of interest is why I want to work with Falls Church, and then the self-introduction, bit more personal about who they are. So you'll get a feel of them on a more personal level.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, I'll go on to internal candidates. So this really is a question for the board. How would you like for us to treat your internal candidates? Our recommendation is that those candidates are treated the same as any other applicant. If you have someone that does apply and they meet the criteria, we will have that personal interview or personal meeting with them. But the question really is for the board, how would you like for us to treat your internal candidates? Is there some sort of preference that you want them to have? Again, our recommendation is that they are treated the same as all other applicants. So I just want to pause here for a moment to discuss and get some feedback and input from the board.
Any, Kathleen?
I would just go ahead and say I would support treating them like any other candidate.
Seeing a couple head nods. Yep. Yeah, we don't have any other recommendations. Dr. Noonan, is there anything that you've seen from your, no? Okay. So yeah, that sounds good to us.
Okay, great. So that will move us into our candidate expenses. Will the board reimburse those candidates? So when we present you with the slate, our goal is to present 8 to 12, and working with you to present that first slate, we want to dwindle that down to maybe a sweet spot of 6 to 7, and then ultimately the finalists to 2 to 3. So just to have this formalized, if there is a candidate, let's say in Texas or Wyoming, and they have to fly in, or if there's a candidate that has to drive in, looking at the IRS rate for mileage as a standard, does the board intend to reimburse those applicants for their travel? Our recommendation, of course, is that the board does, but again, this question is for open discussion and input from the board.
And I assume that would be within per diem and any of the Falls Church City travel guidelines, correct? Even though they're not employees? Okay. Does anybody have any concerns with reimbursing applicants? I think it would be hard to expect that, but I just want to make sure. Amy?
I don't have a concern. I'm just wondering, are we flying in the candidates that are like the smaller pool of 2 or 3, or are we flying in the slate?
Generally, if you look at the stages that were described by Dr. Johnson, the first round is a paper screen of 8 to 12. Likely, you'll go down to anywhere between 5 and 7. 6 is optimum. And then it would be those 6 that would be coming in for semifinal interviews. You would likely narrow that field to 2 to 3 potential finalists, and it would be the finalists that come in. So it would be somewhere between 5 and 7 initially, and somewhere between 2 and 3 for the second round. And we have guidelines in addition to whatever your district or your division policies are, to follow IRS and GAO guidelines. And obviously, if it's flight, it's the lowest coach direct flight available. And we provide those guidelines to candidates along with whatever policies would be required of the district.
Thank you. Dr. Noonan?
My only question, I think you're making the right decision, of course. This position might garner some interest internationally. And I just wonder if there's any caveat for international applicants as well. Would you want to cap that, or would you want to consider interviewing them online? Or I don't know. Maybe that's a question for you all and HYA. Like, I'm just thinking about having done some work at International School of Bangkok, Singapore American School, Azerbaijan, these places have heard about you, and that there might be some interest. Would you want to fly those folks over as well?
Would it make sense to do, for international, do like the first round, keep it virtual, and then fly them in for the second round, or what would you recommend?
HYA, that's to you.
Certainly, that would be a good option, a great option. And you can also set top stops when we get to that stage. But a great option would be to do a virtual first round, and obviously, if it goes beyond that, you want a face-to-face.
Doesn't seem like there's too many concerns if there was for that type of candidate to come in, and obviously we'd be supportive. And to Dr. Noonan's point, that is a possibility to have international candidates. So, great question.
Yeah, and it might be somebody from Montreal who you would fly in anyway.
Right.
So
True. Yeah.
It just depends on kind of, I guess, where in the world they're coming from.
Good point. Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, the next item on the agenda is simply a report on the advertising options that were selected. And we just wanted to make sure that, the full board was informed as to the advertising that will take place. You selected as part of the proposal advertising package 2. So there'll be exposure in several issues of Education Week, paper copy, as well as online for a month, and then a week featured there. We'll also be advertising with AASA as part of that package, and then all of our social media packages and so forth. One of the things that's important that's not shown there, on our website, we made a business decision 4 years ago to put competitor searches up, and it is driven to where we get about 30,000 looks a month, generally from potential applicants interested in educational leadership positions. So that's part of that package 2 that is described in the search brochure. You also included in the package that was selected ALIS and NASB. So we will be advertising online for a month with the Association of Latino School Administrators, as well as the National Alliance of Black School Educators, as part of the advertising package. They're included in the proposal. They were included in the packages that were selected. But we just wanted to make sure that that was out there. And is there any comment or interest in discussing that?
I don't think we have any comments beyond the package 2 that we selected during the process. I think the only additional comment is, as Dr. Noonan was late, he was actually receiving a scholarship in his name, and it's called the Dr. Noonan IB for All International Baccalaureate, and that's been a theme and a major success of his while he's been here. We are now one of only 8 school districts in the country that are IB certified from pre-K all the way to high school. So under his leadership, we also hosted an International Baccalaureate National Conference. So our recognition in the IB community is pretty strong, and that's when Dr. Noonan was also mentioning earlier we might have interest internationally. So the question I have is there, and this might be to anyone in the room as well, is there an IB type community that we might want to tailor our recruiting to? I know some of these are overlapping, but do we know of any IB listservs, newsletters, or searches, Dr. Noonan?
Yeah, my instinct would be to reach out to the IB, which is here in Bethesda, the stateside IB, and then IBO. But they, I could get you David's contact information if you wanted to send it to the president of the U.S. IB, and then they could also send it out across their listservs to try and remember the name of the organizations. But there are several international organizations that are associated with the IB.
Okay. Dr. Adams, is that something we would be able to do to tailor it to certain groups if needed?
Absolutely. And if we could, when we do our interview with Dr. Noonan, if you would share that contact information, we'd be happy to pursue it. And it could be a great source.
Absolutely. Happily.
Great. Thank you.
I just wanted to add also, I think that is really great outreach also. I actually was an IB certified teacher and educator when I was a teacher, so I think it's a great organization to reach out to for some input. So we'll be sure to do that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Okay. Great.
Okay. One of the things that we do, in addition to the reference and Googling of candidates, we do the references that were discussed by Dr. Johnson. We do a 360 reference check, and that means that we want someone that the applicant has reported to or reports to. It would generally be the Board of Education or a member of the Board of Education or school board, someone that reports to the individual, as well as various stakeholders that receive services as a result of the individual, as well as a colleague that could attest, or colleagues that could attest to professional experiences. But in addition to that, on the selected candidate, and we've included in our proposal, we hire a third-party private investigation firm to complete a confidential report that we will provide in encrypted form to the board chair and recommend that it be turned over to your general counsel for review. But it includes a midriff of background information everywhere from a social security trace, government criminal record, federal or county criminal record, federal criminal record, county civil record, Department of Motor Vehicle license, education degree verification, TransUnion or Equifax credit report, investigation of all names or aliases over the past 7 years, investigation of all jurisdictions of residence over 7 years, university and academic program accreditation, national criminal record, national sex offender, and an executive summary. It also includes, with the comprehensive package that you'll be using, a 5-year media review and a social media review. We have found of late on that final conditionally selected applicant that if there's a problem, it'll be from social media. And so all of that information is compiled. It was selected. We look at it like a title policy when you're purchasing. It's just another way to protect beyond the reference checks that we do and the Googling and so forth that we do on candidates. So we just wanted to point that out. It's included in the proposal, and it's our background due diligence investigation. Any questions about that?
Amy?
Sure, that sounds incredibly comprehensive. I'm wondering if you can provide a bit more detail on how you conduct the social media searches and what's included. Like, are you looking at the candidates' social media accounts, or are you looking like what they've posted, or are you looking more for what has been posted about them? And how do you decide where to look for those items?
It's across the board. We don't. The investigative firm does that. They use a set of filters, and the filters they'll filter out based upon that. I don't know the exact process that's used. We use two firms. The one that I prefer and the one that we would use for this search is Baker Eubanks out of North Carolina. But I do know they use a variety of filters. They will come up with anything that reflects. Well, I can tell you where we had an incident where a potential candidate to be selected had liked some things that someone said in the community. And the things that they liked triggered something with the filters, and we had to explain that. Now it all worked out, but it's pretty extensive, and you'll see anything that comes up with that. But I don't know the specifics.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So would you recommend that we wait to the preferred candidate to do this, or that we do it with all semifinalists? Because as I think about it, it makes sense for me, preferred candidate for all the criminal background checks and education verifications, but I'd like to not get too far down the path with someone who had a massive social media problem, so to speak, public profile problem that could be uncovered by social media. So I'm curious how y'all think about that.
Typically, most school boards we work with will wait until there's a conditionally selected candidate that is not named publicly. And there's two conditions. One would be the condition of the due diligence report, and the second would be successful contract negotiations. All of that would happen before anything became public. We have had in some districts, especially some of the very large school districts, like a Broward County, and they did it on the top three. Included in our package is one comprehensive background investigation on the conditionally selected candidate. If you choose, certainly you can add, your I would say finalist, if it were the three finalists when you get to that point.
Other questions, comments? Okay, all right, great.
Okay. Before we, I believe the item on compensation and discussing the potential for compensation is going to be done in executive session. So I'm going to ask if we could skip that item and come back to it, and then have Aresta move into residency and transition, and then Stacy calendar, and then if we could come back. I think it would probably be the most expeditious way to handle those items on the agenda. Is that agreeable?
That makes sense, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go into our residency expectations. And thinking about the candidate pool, will it be the expectation of the board that your next superintendent lives within the city, county, obviously the state, but looking at the city, is that a requirement? Because that will be something that will be a part of the posting. And keeping in mind that we want to keep our pool as large as possible. So really wanting to bring that to the board and engage in some dialogue on where you stand on residency requirements for your successor superintendent.
Yeah, even if we wanted to have that as an expectation, I don't think we could get them a house, given how quick houses turn over in this town. So, we've not had that in the past. Does anybody have an interest in trying to? No. So there's no expectation for residency.
Okay, that was easy. Great, thank you. The next item, transition services. The board and HYA, we can meet with you and the superintendent to provide transition services. And those services can vary from board governance workshops to goal setting and evaluation with the superintendent. Also comprehensive first-year support, and using that leadership profile and desired characteristics document as a guiding force for some of that work, as well as strategic planning. So beyond just finding your next superintendent, the transition services component of that would include some of that hand-holding until you say, okay, enough guys, we've got it. So we're here to support you beyond just hiring the next superintendent. So wanted to put that out there to see if there's any interest. If not today, that's something that we can keep on the table as we move throughout the process.
Yeah, we were interested in that from the review panel. I think we all commented that that was something that we were interested in. So yeah, obviously that's not a today discussion, but that would be something we would want to do as a district. So.
Okay, great. We'll make note of that and be sure to follow up as we go through the process.
Bill, I think I'm up next with the calendar.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so if we move into item number 16, and equally so, I would suggest that your calendars are available to you. Today, of course, we're meeting with regard to the planning meeting. Again, kudos and thank you very much for signing up for all of the interviews that'll be conducted next week with Dr. Adams and Dr. Johnson. We are making some suggestions here. I understand that there may be some concerns with regard to some of the timing on this calendar. So with that being said, I'll start out with the suggestion that after all of the preliminary work is done with the community engagement per our previous conversation, that the community engagement with regard to focus groups, some individual interviews, and the online survey occur between January the 13th to January the 24th. The rationale behind that is that I believe your winter break, you come back from winter break on January the 6th. That would give a week to promote the sessions. I'm sure some of that initial work will be done before winter break, but to have those sessions start January the 13th and continue on through the 24th, which gives a solid 2 weeks of intake. In particular, with regard to the survey, we try not to have that survey extend too long into like a 3-week, 3.5 week. We can if we're not getting input, but typically getting out there short and sweet tends to have the most impact. And then after we conduct the community engagement and the online survey, we will look to present a leadership profile report. As you can see here, it was scheduled with a 1-week break in between so that we as a team can meet and collaborate and put together the profile and desired characteristics document for you with enough time for us to engage on our side in order to make that presentation to you. So before I go any further, I know that there's some discussion I believe that you want to have around the timing of the engagement, which I think will impact the rest of the calendar if we can pause right now and have those conversations.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that Ms. Michael flagged that we have a 4-day break in that window. So I think there was some concerns about engagement. I know, Mr. Brett, you always talk about the statistics for reading our morning announcement on Fridays are usually the lowest, and I imagine holidays are even lower. Is that pretty much? Yeah. So to get their attention, we're just trying to think of how to structure this because this is a very important 11 days. Mr. Brett, do you have any thoughts on if we have an 11-day window and 4 of those might be a holiday? Any thoughts?
Well, I think even before the winter break, we'll know when these sessions will be held, correct? So we could promote them. I mean, we've got a whole week now, next week, and a week after that before the winter break. So
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we just have to do, yeah, that's a good point. So,
we could do
okay.
that. And we're going to, of course, Monday, we'll be advertising the months that we're going to be doing what, throughout the series of things and meetings we're going to be holding.
Okay. And then how about the survey window? Similarly, do you feel confident that we could get a good response rate, even though it's, okay.
I believe so.
Okay, just more advertising. We do have a number of communication avenues in the district. I think people are still finding all the ways that Mr. Brett and his team communicate with everyone. So we have a lot of ways we can reach people. So I think it would just be a coordinated strategy for advertising. So thanks, Mr. Brett. Other thoughts, Ms. Michael?
Would the board like to not have any community engagement evenings the weekend or the evening of the 16th? Which is that night before the Friday is the work session of the Martin Luther King weekend. Just as we're planning it out, should I assume that night is not great? Okay.
I think the Meridian Junior's pre-college night is that night.
Other questions or thoughts about this window, extending it to 11 days to try to capture all the community engagement?
I mean, I would defer to you, Kristen and John, but there may be community groups that could meet on that Friday, even if school groups are not, because not every interview is school people. So I know there's a lot of overlap in our community, but that's something that might be possible because even though the school is closed, the rest of the world is not closed.
I had no idea.
I also think looking at some of the employee groups, if the board is okay, maybe some of the groups could meet that week of the 6th, right? So as we're looking at scheduling, for example, administrative directors, right, we could think about using that time the week before as well.
What day does our quarter end or semester end? I'm just trying to think for staff, for certified staff.
Yeah, and we'll definitely want to be very thoughtful to that. That quarter ends that Thursday, the 16th, right? And then that day to finish grades is that Friday, the 17th.
Okay.
So we'll definitely be thoughtful in terms of our certified staff and really making sure we're not negatively impacting their completion of grades.
Great, thank you. Other considerations or thoughts for that window? Dr. Noon, do you see anything that, okay. Okay. So I think the extension would be great, and then we'll just, Ms. Adams, we'll just work with John Brett, our director, for messaging and communication. We can do a pretty heavy job of communicating this through all of our avenues that he has set up. So that'd be great.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, then we'll proceed. So if we're comfortable with that timeline, we're going to now move into determining a date for the presentation of the leadership profile report that we've been speaking about all morning. We're offering the week of February the 3rd. Typically, this is a 1 to 1.5 hour meeting. You will have the report before the meeting so that you can review it and come prepared to discuss the document. In this case, it's actually two documents, the desire characteristics as well, alongside the leadership profile report. So I see everyone has their devices out and currently looking.
Yes, we're just looking at the school board. If this is like a closed session, which I imagine it would be, or is this, yeah, so we have a school board meeting on the 11th that we could do it, and we also have one on the January 28th. I'm just trying to think if we want to coordinate it with a existing school board meeting.
So with that said, we would prefer to push toward February the 11th versus January the 28th. If we finish up the engagement sessions on the 24th, there's no way our team can present a document to you with enough time for us to collaborate and share and have it to you ahead of time for January the 28th. That's
No concerns here. No, we will defer to you. Yeah,
Mission
no concerns.
impossible.
Yeah. I would just say that since that's the organizational meeting, that tends to be like a pretty meaty meeting, right? Isn't that when we get the budget, and that's a big meeting, so we would definitely need to like mentally prepare for a long night, or probably meet earlier, like do this before. Oh, sorry, you're right. I was looking at January, so February. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
So it seems like February 11th is preferred by all.
Great. And what is the time that you typically start? Are you adding this in the front end of a regularly scheduled meeting potentially?
We start at 7, so it'd be after. That's when we would do our closed. So it would.
We can work to keep that agenda a little lighter,
Okay.
so it's not a really long night for you,
Yeah. Okay.
perhaps, and see if we can move some things to March.
Okay. So yeah, it might be 8:30, 9 could be when we finish up. So about an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting is. So yeah, it's 8:30 or 9. We would start with you all in closed, and we can work. We've not gotten to the agenda, but as Dr. Noonan said, we'll work on that to see if we can get it as light as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for at least having some ideas there. Okay, with the presentation then of the leadership profile on February the 11th, the application deadline of March the 10th would still very much work if it works for all of you. Of course, there's some flexibility here if you prefer to push it out just a little bit, in that we typically, when we present the timeline and the, if you will, the pitch up front, we typically say 4 to 5 to 6 weeks. So from February the 11th to March the 10th is 4 weeks. Now, with that being said, we will be starting to recruit tomorrow, right? Well, maybe not on a Saturday, but we'll be recruiting immediately, having had this conversation. And then, so word will be getting out. You will be on our website shortly. We will be connecting with our networks as well. So even though it's technically a 4-week window, there will be all this activity that will have happened prior to that. So with all that being said, are you comfortable with March the 10th as the application deadline?
And that would leave, based on our February 11th, that would leave a 4-week window for applicants to apply. Is that what our calculations
Yes, well, the
are?
application will be live probably in 10 days or so. We'll do an initial posting on our website, and so there will be an application now. However, the real recruitment and comparing anyone who applies, if you will, early will be compared against that leadership profile document. So people can potentially, when they hear about the opportunity, put their application in the system. However, they will not be considered formally until we have approval of that leadership profile and the desired characteristics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so almost like a coming soon sign for a house. Okay. All right.
Yes,
Can I actually ask a backward, if we go to the end of the calendar, right now,
Yes.
this April 12th is suggested for interviews. That's the first day of spring break for our district. It's also the first night of Passover, so there may be some complicating factors of depending what that looks like. And then we're on spring break for a week during that negotiation window. And so I was actually curious about the back end of that. Like, would that need to be pushed earlier, pushed later? And then how does that affect the application open window?
Right. So, so we were absolutely going to get to that. That was highlighted on an initial draft of this, that April the 12th, and where you are with that. If we wouldn't suggest pushing it any sooner on your application deadline. So like March 10th is the earliest I believe we can do for our application deadline. And then pursuant to that, we're looking to, do the slate presentation, et cetera. We can always extend out the interviews in some sense around that spring break, but I don't think I would push anything up sooner. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess my question is in terms of competitiveness for candidates. Are people, like if we push stuff to that late April, because we lose 2 weekends with spring break, theoretically, and then we push interviews and whatnot to late April, does that then make it likelier that we would lose great candidates because they will already have other options?
I think you're in a sweet spot, quite frankly, with regard to the whole recruitment process. As far as that's concerned, what we don't want is too much of a delay once you start the interviews and then push it into the second interview. So when you do your first interview, you don't want to wait too long after to do your second interview. You want that consistency there because, quite frankly, now you have some momentum and you've narrowed it down. But until we get to that point, when we know that once we set these dates, we'll advise those, in particular, the slated candidates that we're going to present, that these are the dates, so they're well aware. And obviously, we're having conversations with them with regard to their desirability to choose Falls Church first and foremost, should they be selected. So it's a bit of it's fuzzy to a certain extent, and a bit of it's organic because yes, you're absolutely right. It's a competitive marketplace. However, at some point we make the decision, they know when the interview dates are, and we move forward with those dates, and they will make themselves available accordingly. Bill, do you want to weigh in? I don't know if I'm being clear.
No, the only thing I would say is you cannot have the deadline date before March 10th. We'll be doing some interviewing at AASA, which will be the week before that in New Orleans. And that'll probably be the final push for applicants there. So as far as going, once we close the applications, I think you have to work then from slate presentation. And then once you have a slate presentation, we really want to then go over hopefully no more than a 1 month period so that you have a slate presentation within a week or 10 days actual interviews, and within a week of the first round of interviews, the second round of interviews. So we may have to either extend the application deadline and go after the spring break with all of our dates, or try to get them in before.
Right. And the other thing I think might be helpful in this as we work through it, what we've allowed for is a 60-day notice for someone that to start July the 1st. So that's where this calendar also has that backward design involved in it that I think you're alluding to, is that if your expectation is for July the 1st, all May and June become the 60-day notice for any seated superintendent. Now, there might be some flexibility depending upon who your choice is, but that's what we allow for.
So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look at the calendar and work through that in my head. So it sounds to me then like if we were to do interviews after spring break, that wouldn't really give us enough time with the 60-day calendar. It sounds to me like maybe the suggestion is pushing before spring break, and it looks like these have to be on Saturdays. So would that be, for instance, I see we have a long weekend in March as well, but March 29th and 5th, or I'm just, what are there particular dates you would propose, knowing these parameters?
Right, we could potentially push it toward April the 5th and well, no, we can't do that either, okay. So your
can I
suggestion is,
clarifying
sorry.
question? These interviews are not just us, it's the search, like who's involved in that day? Let me ask that bigger question, just so I'm clear. In the interview
Okay.
days.
Bill, do you want me to take that or do you want to take it?
Go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
Sure. So prior to coming into today's meeting, the interviews are with you, the board. However, per the decision made earlier, you're also going to have a committee that's involved. And without getting into some of the details that have yet to be determined, we would see probably that day both of you, the board, and the committee kind of setting up, if you will, a round robin type of interview process of those days. So wherein potentially one candidate is interviewing with your committee, and then you would be interviewing with another candidate and kind of moving it through the day that way. And that's without any other conversation being had. This is just a suggestion.
And Stacy, likely that would be at the semifinal, so it would be the paper screen and then the committee involvement when the board does the initial interviews. That would allow for immediate feedback and input, and then get it down to perhaps 2 or 3 finalists.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, what I'm thinking of is if we have community members involved, that affects ability, for example, to schedule an interview during a weekend of spring break, as opposed to if it's just all of us.
Sure.
My colleagues may not already have plans, but that's a separate issue. But did I just hear, Dr. Adams, you say that there could be the semifinal round may just be the board, or like one of the rounds might just be the board and one might involve the community? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, our thought would be that when you get down to that first round of interviews, you've done a paper screen, so you're familiar and you've seen all of the applicants and their resumes and applications, then the 5 documents on the slated candidates. Once that's phase 1 in terms of the board's exposure to the applicant pool and what we would call preferred potential semifinalists. At that next meeting, which would be the first round of interviews, the first round of interviews are generally about an hour each. And that's why we recommend going to approximately 6 applicants. It would probably be at that meeting when that community stakeholder group would be involved. Once their feedback is received by the board would determine by end of that day what finalists they would be bringing back. At that second meeting, we would assume the committee would not be involved since they would have had their input on each of the potential people. And then that second meeting would be roughly 2 hours for each applicant. It would include a presentation by the applicant, a topic to be determined by the board with discussion with our team, and some scenarios, as well as a script that we'll develop to work with you around vision and values, teaching and learning, facilities and finance, communications, student voice, etc.
Can I ask, does that second final interview, that's just the board, does that have to be on a Saturday? Or is that typically only done on Saturdays?
No, we recommend that the interview process, obviously dependent on your availability and schedule, take place during a full day. We have found that if we use multiple nights or multiple days, first of all, you lose continuity in the process. So we find that often boards are not available to set aside a day during the week. We've met, therefore, and make art, since we're physically present, one of us will be at those meetings. we make ourselves available. We've done them on Saturdays. We've done them on Sundays. We've done them during the week. It all depends on your schedule and availability. And we offer the weekends simply out of convenience for you, the board. We'd actually prefer to meet during the week.
Is that second day of, if you're only interviewing 3 people, is that still a full day because you're spending longer with each candidate? Okay.
Yes. Here's what we recommend for both meetings, setting aside about 7.5 hours. We'll set up a schedule if there, let's say for the first round, you determine you want to interview 6. Likely with 6, we would go with a 50-minute interview, 10-minute break in between each interview. After you've interviewed 4, we take a 20-minute to a half-hour lunch break, and then finish up with 2, and then probably we'll need an hour to an hour and a half for discussion. And we do have a process to help facilitate that. Obviously, you'll have all documents in advance, but Dr. Johnson mentioned the Delphi technique that we would use to help assist you in going through that process. So that's roughly 7.5 hours. Once you determine then let's say 2 or 3 finalists, we then would set up that second meeting, and those interviews would be roughly 1 hour and 50 minutes to 2 hours each. And we would divide them probably into 4 or 5 sessions within each of the 2 hours. One would be a presentation, and that whole presentation may be centered on knowledge and either a challenge or a vision for the district's commitment to the International Baccalaureate program, or whatever you would decide. And then we allow time for follow-up questions from the first round of interviews based on notes that we would have taken, where you might want a more in-depth response. The applicant may have made a comment, and you may have said, I'm interested in learning more. I know we had only an hour to meet with you before. So would you elaborate on that response? That would probably be the next 20-minute phase of that. And then because they're shorter answers usually for more questions at the first round, there'd be an opportunity for then a focus on in-depth questions specific to the applicant rather than the same questions that may have been asked to all applicants in the first round. And then finally, we recommend setting aside at least 20 minutes to a half hour for a conversation. Some boards, and when we've done Commissioner of Ed searches, will actually set aside a time for the applicant to interview you to make sure that they're the right fit for them, as well as them being the right fit for you. So that's that second round. I don't know whether that helps put it into perspective in terms of the time that's required in those. We would hope would be full days, whatever day you pick.
Kathleen?
I was just going to say, it feels really important if we're trying to find 2 Saturdays where we all can give up 8 hours. Feels like we need to block those off now.
Yeah, we could possibly do that at the end, after we can look at that, or if the weekdays, yep.
Would you all
Would-
consider doing the Friday before that Saturday for the second interviews? No, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at, no.
Would, by any chance, Saturday, March the 29th or the 28th, that Friday, and April the 5th, would those 2-week parameters work?
In our district, we have a teacher workday that 28th, I think, right? So it's a long weekend for some families, and so I don't know if that would make it harder to get the advisory committee together.
I knew there was something behind the, thank you for bringing that up.
April 28th?
March 28th.
I think with that being so close to spring break, we probably wouldn't see a lot of people traveling that weekend, but that would just be a guess.
The weekend before. So March It's 2 weekends before, I think, but. Ms. Adams, can you say the dates you're looking at again?
Sure. As a suggestion, Saturday, March the 29th and April the 5th for first and second.
I have a bar mitzvah on April 5th.
Would Friday the 4th work?
I believe so. For me.
Or would Sunday, April the 6th work if you were to go to a Sunday, if you were to do March the 29th or Sunday, April the 6th?
It's not me. I'm just, are we talking again about the community? The initial round where a community focus group would be involved? Because I just mentioned if there is the Falls Church Education Foundation Home and Garden Tour on the 6th. It's from 12 to 4. It's from 12 to 4. I just mentioned that. I don't know if that doesn't impact me personally, although I love it, but I wonder if it would impact anybody who we would have on the focus group.
Bill, if I'm hearing you correctly, is the focus group going to be the first round of interviews and then the school board makes the decision solely on the second round?
Yes.
Okay, so the date for the community members would be the first date, which would be that March the 29th, and then the second, if it were the second round, if it were to be on April the 6th, would not require the community.
We're seeing head nods
See it,
from a
Bill.
few. Speak up, please. Yeah.
And the first rounds would be virtual, correct? And the second rounds would be in person, or were we flying in?
No, the workshop meeting, which is currently listed week of March 24th, would be virtual from our end. We would assume you would be in person. And then the next two would be, unless there would be an international applicant that might be interviewed virtually, would be in person, and that would be your semifinal 6, 5 to 7. And then the second round would be the 3 finalists.
Thank you.
And so as not to confuse it, Bill jumped through another date at you. Let's stay focused on those interview dates, and then we'll back into that slate presentation date that he's referring to. So if we can get agreement on the 29th and the 6th, then we can back into that slate presentation.
Dr. Noonan, I see in the school calendar that Eid al-Fitr is listed as the 30th, and I know we haven't, that's sometimes a moving target, so I wanted to confirm that that's not going to interfere.
Looking at it right now, it's the evening of Saturday, March 29th to Sunday, March 30th.
So, not to complicate everything, but
it's complicated.
But if according to our school board policies, we're not holding major events on major holidays, religious holidays, and Trish isn't here to ask, I'd want to make sure we're not imposing that on the community and not following our own policy.
If it does it start in the evening, would we be done by the evening? What's the parameters there?
So I'm looking at it now. Kristen, did you want to?
I don't know well enough.
No, it does. It begins at, I believe, sundown.
Sundown?
On the 30th.
On the Saturday 29th, and ends on Sunday, March 30th. So if you had a day meeting on Saturday the 29th, if it ended by sundown, probably would be okay.
Although as someone who observes a religion that has sundown practices, ending at sundown is not actually helpful because there is a lot of prep that goes into that. So I just want to be mindful.
I'm looking at the school calendar and
That is absolutely what our current published calendar says.
Oh, you're saying.
But if you just Google it, because these are ones that change, I believe, based on the lunar calendar, when you Google it, it does say evening, Saturday, March 29th. I think we should really ask someone who follows this religion to ensure that we're getting it correct.
That makes sense. Lori, do you mind, I can see head nods here, but can you speak up if there's any dates that you're unable, just so we have those on our notes? Lori, you might be on mute still. Okay, we'll check back with Ms. Silverman in just a bit.
So given the challenge that we're having, if you don't mind, I want to reach out to Dr. Johnson and Dr. Adams. With an application deadline of March the 10th and needing enough time to obviously do our research on the applicants and potential candidates, if we were to present the slate of candidates the week of the 17th, would it be, I'm just trying to look at being much more aggressive and doing the first round on the March 22nd of interviews, that puts us a little bit, our back up against the wall. But if we were to present the slate, and given that potential slated candidates would know of the interview dates, so they would have to keep their calendars open anyway on the 22nd. It would still mean doing something on the 29th, ideally if we did back-to-back, but if push came to shove, given the challenges, if we did the first round on the 22nd to meet the needs for all the community members that might be involved in that group in the committee, and then if we needed to do the second round, not ideal on April the 5th, given a 2-week break, but we could do that, and or on March the 29th, as long as you were done before sundown. Would that work? And I ask the two of you because I know what it requires to do the appropriate vetting of the candidates, and in order to give the board enough time to review that slate, we typically allow for 48 to 72 hours beforehand. So it's a tight schedule is what I'm saying.
Stacy, what was the date for the slate presentation that you?
I'm looking at somewhere on the week of the 17th, which would be literally, a 1-week turnaround to get all of that work done. And for those in the room, reference checks, getting a hold of different people that are being referred to us is sometimes, a part of that time. And so we allow for, typically up front, we allow for a little bit more time.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave in a moment for a work obligation, but a question about that is, does that leave enough time, a 1-week window for candidates to get here?
If we notify them of what their dates are up front as they're under consideration, yes, absolutely. And that we would consider that part of the screening process, right? Even though it's a tight market, but if we tell them up front and we're talking to them, end of February into March, that we're looking and kind of going through that, like, okay, these are the dates you were interested. Can you make yourself available?
What we do is advise potential candidates that may be slated of the time schedule, and we ask them flat out, if you should be selected, will you be available on these dates? So we generally know that information. That's one of the reasons it's so important for us to know the dates now.
Yeah. So team Aresta and Bill, would that work?
Yes, if we could, but I think what's important, the first thing is what is going to be the meeting date for the workshop and the presentation of the slate. Once we have that date, I think if it were the 18th, 19th, or 20th probably being the most desirable, we'd be in pretty good shape.
Why, I'm curious why, just FYI, why the 20th being the most desirable if the first round interview is the 22nd? What we wanted to more.
Well, what I'm looking at is giving us more time to finish the vetting and have the documents prepared. Our challenge is that we need to get the information also to the board 48 hours before the meeting by our protocols.
Thank you, okay.
Do you mind from just a timing perspective, do you mind if we just kind of put a hold on Saturday, March 29th and Sunday, April 6th, and we all look at this and regroup, just so we can get to the other parts of the agenda? Is that okay? We've got a couple board members that are going to have to leave for other meetings pretty soon, unfortunately. Okay. I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll try to tentatively set Saturday, March 29th, Sunday, April 6th as draft. And then we'll work with you right after this meeting to try to figure out how do we lock that in. So we appreciate that. I know as you are experiencing, our board it's tough to get us together, but we're dedicated. We're ready to commit to this. So we'll make sure we can communicate with you on that. Okay, so if that's the case for the calendar, that's obviously something we have not finalized. Is there? We're about to go to closed. Is there any other questions, especially for the folks that might have to leave? Lori as well. Any other questions you might have for the HYA firm that we've not covered?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lori. Dr. Noonan, anything? Okay. Okay, well, we went through a lot of topics. Dr. Adams, Ms. Adams, Dr. Johnson, anything else you have before we start to move to executive closed?
No, thank you. I think we've accomplished a lot.
Yes, yeah, and this is just the beginning, as we're all, yeah, so, but we appreciate it. Thank you very much for working with us on this. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and move to executive close. Can I please have, and in the executive close, we'll be talking about the compensation package, the salary, and for personnel matters. So can I please have a motion? Jared Anderson?
Pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the following purpose: to discuss or consider the identified subject matter, personnel under Section 2.2-3711A1, in particular, salaries of specific public officers.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Murphy. All in favor say yes. Any opposed? All right, so now we'll, thank you, Ms. Silverman. And so now we'll go ahead and cut the feed for the public, or pause the feed for the public. All right, thank you, everybody.